A Visit to the Haunted House, written by Dean Walley, illustrated by Arlene Noel. Halfway between a little town called Sassafras and a little town called Lespedeza, on a high hill was a big old house that was so spooky and scary that everyone said it was haunted. Every night strange noises came from Halfway House, noises that sounded like ghostly screams and witches' laughter. And horrible creatures were seen flying in and out of the windows. It's no wonder that people from Sassafras and Lespedeza were afraid to even go near Halfway House. One day, Tommy Tribble, who lived in Lespedeza, got a new kite. He called up his friend Stephanie Pepper, who lived in Sassafras, and said, "Let's go fly my kite." "Right," said Stephanie. "I'll meet you at the high hill by the halfway house." But the halfway house is haunted." "Oh, pooh," said Stephanie, who was 6 and as brave as anything. "There's no such thing as ghosts. And that hill is the best place to fly a kite. Besides, we won't go in the house." "Okay," said Tommy, who was almost 6 and very brave too. So they went. The wind was so strong that it was hard to hang onto the kite string. Tommy and Stephanie both had to hold it, and the kite kept blowing closer and closer to the horrible, haunted halfway house. Suddenly, snap! The kite string broke, and Tommy Tribble's bright new kite sailed right into the open window of the haunted halfway house. "That's too bad," said Stephanie sadly. "Let's go home now. It's starting to get dark, and I'm scared." "I thought you were so brave. Now's your chance to prove it," cried Tommy. "I'm going in there to get my kite, and you're going with me." Stephanie shivered and shook her head. "No." But when Tommy laughed at her, she decided to go. She didn't want him to think she was a scaredy cat. Tommy took Stephanie's hand and they walked up the big old front door of Halfway House. It looked like it hadn't been opened in about 77 years. And it was covered with musty, dusty spider webs. "It's probably locked. Let's go home," said Tommy. But then, creak! The door opened all by itself. "Let's go," screamed Stephanie. "This place really is haunted." But Tommy said no. "Come on, silly. It's only the wind, and I want to find my kite." So the two of them held on tight to each other's hand and crept bravely through the doorway. As soon as they were inside the horrible house, even before their eyes grew used to the darkness of the gloomy room, boom! The door slammed shut behind them, and the bolt fell into place, almost as if an invisible hand had locked it. "I want to go home," cried Stephanie. "Me too, but I can't lift this bolt. It's too heavy." Just then the children heard a flapping sound. They looked up and saw a bunch of black furry bats flying right at them. "This way!" yelled Tommy, and he pulled Stephanie after him as he ran away from the vampire bats. But those creepy creatures chased the children farther into the haunted house, past cobweb-covered caskets, through dark hallways with clammy walls, and up a creaky, squeaky flight of stairs. As the children began climbing the rickety old staircase, they heard rattling chains, and farther away, the sound of fiendish laughter. Then it became very, very quiet. Too quiet. All of a sudden, a panel in the wall flew open, and out popped a skull. Clackety-clatter, it went tumbling down the stairway. Tommy and Stephanie turned and ran as fast as they could away from the terrible sight, but as they turned a corner into the dark hallway, they ran right into a skeleton without a head. "Where is my head?" the skeleton said. "My bones can't rest without a head." Poor Stephanie, poor Tommy. They were too frightened to say a word, so they ran on, away from the scary skeleton, down the hideous hall, and up another fearful flight of stairs. At the top of the stairs, they saw a door marked "This Way Out." But just as Tommy reached for the knob, whoosh! A trap door opened beneath them, and they went tumbling down, down, down through a long, dark tunnel. And Tommy and Stephanie landed, Ker-plunk! In a room full of ghosts! The grinning ghosts were flying around the room, twisting and turning, moaning and groaning. Tommy's eyes were as big as saucers. Stephanie was as white as a sheet. They had to find a way out. Any way out. The ghosts kept forcing them back against the wall. And as they leaned against the wall, a very strange thing happened. A secret panel began to open. It was a hidden door they had found by accident. And on the other side they saw a funny little man operating lots of strange machines. "Oh no, please don't hurt me," cried the little man. "I'm sorry for scaring you. Please forgive me." "What is this anyway?" asked Tommy. "Have you been fooling us?" "Well, you see, you might say, yes, I've been fooling you," stammered the little man in a shy, squeaky voice. "But why?" cried Tommy and Stephanie together. "Because I was afraid," sobbed the little man, and he broke down and cried and cried. Tommy and Stephanie rushed to his side. "There, there," said Stephanie. "Please don't cry. We forgive you. We want to be your friends." "Yes," said Tommy. "We want to help you. Please tell us why you wanted to scare us." "Well, you see, I'm very shy," said the poor little man as he dried his eyes. "My name is Mr. Bashfellow. I am afraid of people, so I decided to build all these machines to make people think this house is haunted. I have ghost machines, skeleton machines, bat machines, scream machines, just every kind of creepy machine imaginable." "Well, you sure fooled us," said Tommy. Just then he saw his kite. "Hey, there's my kite! May I have it, please?" "Of course. You know, I'm really very glad it blew in here. You're the first guest I've ever had, and you're really very nice." "Everybody's nice," said Stephanie. "At least everybody in Sassafras and Lespediza." "As nice as you?" "Oh, yes," said Tommy. "Well, I've just never been around people before. I thought they were all horrid and mean." "Certainly not," said Stephanie. "Listen, I have a great idea," cried Tommy. "I'll bet you could sell tickets to this haunted house. Lots of people from Sassafras and Lespediza would come." "To be scared?" asked Mr. Bashfellow. "It's fun to be scared when you know it's just pretend," said Stephanie. "It would be nice to have more friends like you," said Mr. Bashfellow, as a happy blush spread over his face. "I think it's a wonderful idea." And the very next day, Mr. Bashfellow, with some help from his new friends, opened the halfway house of happy horrors. And to this very day, people from Sassafras and Lespediza and lots of other places think it's a treat to go there for thrills and chills. Everyone likes Mr. Bashfellow, and he thinks the world of everyone, especially his very best friends, Tommy Tribble and Stephanie Pepper.